I want to be able to complete the second part of this exercise today. So it's going to be important to get to the exercise as soon as possible. So, but I know different people saw or didn't see each other's first part. So when you do your check-in, if you can kind of keep your check-in on the shorter side and then share your picture and journaling briefly from the exercise last week so that everybody gets kind of caught up, and Missy can't make it. She had to work. But everybody else, so just show your, do your check-in for sure, but keep it on the briefer side, and then show your picture and talk a little bit about your look review of the beginning of last year. And then I just want to make sure we have enough time. And I mentioned this before, everybody wasn't here. Nancy's going to come next week. She has a week off from her class. She wants to see you guys. And we are going to have the third piece of this exercise as well. So I'll let her know she can do the first two, or she can just kind of hang out while people are doing the third part. Okay, so whoever wants to go, welcome to the meeting. And we're going to get started with check-in / show your first part.
I can go. I am limping through the last few days of school, and yeah, I have a lot to do, but that's okay. I spoke with my principal today. We were actually doing a review of everybody's caseload and that sort of thing, and so he was very encouraging. You know, when he saw what I was dealing with, and you know, basically said, you know, we've warned all the staff that we're changing schedules, you know, in January. So, you know, I would recommend that you build yourself in a little bit more flex time to get a lot of the paperwork done that you need to get done. So that was really awesome. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to get a little bit of time tomorrow to do some catch up work and stuff. So a little more, you know, a little less that I have to do on my holidays. And so those were all very positive. Yeah, I did a lot of sort of rest last week because I was getting tired and feeling, you know, getting swollen glands and stuff. So, you know, to be short, I didn't come to group last Wednesday because I was tired and wasn't feeling well. I ditched my staff party on Friday and I took Monday off. So, you know, just didn't want to wake up with that teacher cold on the first day of holidays, which is, you know, it's a tradition, right? The teacher cold, you wake up with it the first day you're off school. So yeah, I'm doing a lot to take care of my body and mental health in that way. So that's really cool. I did my thing on Sunday because I wasn't at group. And I think I sort of left a message for everybody about how awesome you are. I really, you know, yeah, I thought the sharing was very deep. So thanks for doing that. My assessment of myself in January was that I was doing pretty well, and had started sort of connecting with spirit a little bit more. I was still sort of scarred by some trauma, you know, past trauma of my last job and my dad dying and blah, blah, blah. My self-care was okay, but it wasn't enough. I was still people pleasing and had some, you know, a lot of limiting beliefs still. My self-talk was improving, but there was still harsh voices sometimes, and I was still censoring myself. I knew my general values, but not as in depth as now. I would say I was living in alignment with those about 60% of the time. I didn't set any goals for 2021. I just wanted things to get better and to live in the spirit and groove with the universe more. And so my life satisfaction there was I said 5, 6, 7, depending on the day. And my picture is cloudy with some breaking, cloudy and rain, but with some breaking sun coming through.
And you know that's you. It's a portrait of you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's
Yeah.
totally fine. It doesn't have to be a literal, but just so that you're identifying that as you at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Things were still heavy, and there was still some darkness, and I was carrying around stuff and was, looking for a way to fix that.
Yeah.
But
Sun was
things were, yeah.
awesome. Thank you. All right. And who wants to go next?
I can go next. So I think you all saw my picture of me relaxing at my friend's house in Virginia with her dog, Jasper, who loves me. And again, I'm a cat
You could
person.
definitely tell. You could definitely tell. That was like, it totally, that was your buddy.
And I'm not a dog person. There's like maybe a handful of dogs in my life that I've had that kind of relationship with. And he gets so excited and he does his little happy dance when I come. And I mean, his owner mom says, Joy's coming, and he'll just get excited to hear my voice or to hear my name. So yes, I just melted on Saturday. I had a lovely brunch with my other best friend the next day. Didn't do anything I didn't want to, which was seeing anybody else in my women's circle. I only really need to see those two close friends and Jasper. And the care with Dad went really well. And I hope you all might have also noticed my wording when I said I got my house clean enough to go. Because I did not get everything done. Even when I kept limiting, when I kept cutting back what I planned to do, it got even more limited. And Teresa actually mopped my kitchen floor, which was one of the things I had wanted to do. And I was like, oh, you mopped my nasty floor. Thank you so much. And I said, I know you probably did other things as well, but I appreciate you. Anyhow, so overall, I'm really looking forward to the holidays. I got a plan with my therapist. I've made 3 different lists, and it's like I'm to do proportionally. I mean, she suggested 2 hours of fun and an hour of this that's not so fun and an hour of this that's not so fun. But at least if I do, I was like, okay, I'll maybe, always maybe. But it's like at least that proportion. So like if you do half an hour, then do 15 minutes and 15 minutes, try that proportion of double fun to the work or to the yucky stuff. Also have made arrangements to go see our good friend in Georgia who lost her husband, but a brief visit, and a way that I will only miss one day of what I consider freedom, of where Dad could have been at his day program and I could have been home by myself. So again, timing that so that it meets my schedule and my needs, and I still have an extra day to relax before I have to go back to work. So, started getting those plans made, got a vet reservation for the cat, and canceled that day at his day program. So just excited to be having some time off and a chunk of time. And the Dad will be out of the house, most of the time. So the beginning of this year, and I kind of mentioned last week, some of this transition has really been happening over the last 3 years. At the end of 2019 in September was when I first was able to verbalize that I no longer wanted to live with Dad. And then in early 2020, my sister and I had a plan for him to go live with her at least for a while, see how that went. And then the pandemic hit and he was here. And so this is just 2020. So I'm just trying to kind of catch you up to 2021. At that time, he was with my sister. But it was still a lack of a concrete plan of how I was really going to separate my life from his. We didn't have vaccines yet. I was doing a little more with self-care. I was doing this body group dance exercise program like 3 times a week. I was having fun cooking all this Persian food. Again, self-talk. I still was a little wishy, not a little. I was still wishy-washy with my boundaries with my families. This is my point of growth, is building these boundaries and separating myself from this very enmeshed family that so still working on that, still feeling responsible for everyone's feelings, still putting my needs last. Um, Still self-critical, but my inner voice was challenging that negative talk came up. There was a very strong, excuse me, you need to shut up side going, you're doing good. Don't listen. Why are you even talking? So I told a story about that last week. In terms of value, I didn't really have clear. I just knew I needed space from my family. For more self-care maintenance, but not really having clear ideas about how to bring joy and abundance into my life. Still feeling quite suffocated by my family's expectations and not allowing space for expanding myself and my values. And so even though I had made this kind of what was a bold, definitive statement for me back in September of 2019 that I don't want to live with Dad anymore, it was still wasn't a solid plan of separation and how is this happening. And again, so many things kept happening, going back and forth between the pandemic and where my sister was and her ideas about that. So just, feeling stuck in the house with or without Dad being here, feeling stuck in my job, feeling stuck in the pandemic, feeling cut off from my friends in Virginia and the mountains. I had my goal for the year was to not live with Dad, and my life satisfaction was about a 4. So all my life, I've had this dream that life can be better than the life I'm living, and knowing it's out there, but not knowing how to get to it. So really at the beginning of last year, it's like I could see, I was like trying to get out of this hole and trying to push myself out of the hole. And the first image of the better was this yellow butterfly. And of course, as I've mentioned last week, I needed my tree and my, my running water and my mountains. My mountains aren't in there, but they're implied. But I'm in this hole, and these are hands grabbing on, trying to pull me back, trying to keep me stuck while I'm trying to escape that hole to this better future.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
I'll be happy to. Quick check-in. I'm in a better mindset than last week. Still struggling, still feel like I'm treading water and really scrambling to keep my head above water, but I feel like I'm doing it. I'm not jumping out of the water doing flips, but I feel like I'm keeping my head above water. So that's good. Aurelia's still having a really hard time right now. She has her normal ups and downs, but right now the ups only seem to last a couple of hours before she goes back down. So that's difficult. Jason, no new leads for a job. So that's just there. I've had 2 promising interviews for filling my full-time position. We'll see. My feelings on how well those go don't always seem to match how it turns out, but anyway, I've got 2 possibilities. Yeah, and I am reading Happy Pocket Full of Money, and the thing it's strange, and a lot of it I don't understand, but what I do love about it, it's constantly throughout the book, it's saying, I am wealth, I am abundance, and I am joy. And I love those. I have found myself repeating that over and over in my head the last week. because and I love how it says I am. It's previously, if I, try to have little reminders for myself, I just say, okay, remember joy, remember peace, remember, whatever. But when I say it, I am wealth, I am abundance, I am joy, it just totally looks different. And I feel it more deeply. So that's been a huge helper for me over the last.
One thing in that too, because I listen to it when I'm walking, so I've been, I try to listen to a little bit every day, but I was listening to a chunk today that was talking about, we never fail to pass the moment of now, that like our problems don't exist now, they're in the past and they're in the future. And so the more that you can, even when you think 2 seconds from now is not now, and certainly 5 minutes and 5 years are not. And so the more you can pull yourself into, I've never failed now in all of my life. I'm not failing now, right now, in this moment, right now, nothing is wrong, and to try to pull into that really minute second of now, and find the peace that even in the midst of, a storm, this second right now, like, particularly if you are on your own or with the kids, or, in that that there's solace in staying in the now, and that it's the thinking about what has happened and the projecting about what will happen that creates the pain, and not the second of now. Like if you're getting stabbed or something, like the second of now, probably, yeah, but only for that minute, for that actual second, and then you're on, it's like that compartmentalizing in a way, but really about trying to be with you now, as opposed to worrying about what has happened, getting, feeling badly about what has happened, or projecting out based on what has happened and what you perceive is now what may happen, if that makes sense. And I would say if you're finding that, because that's what I'm finding from that book, is a sense of a sort of universal sense of peace, and like a whole, like the universe has me, even though I don't understand it, I'm like, what the hell is your plan? But the idea that I'm first cause for everything in my life. Everything I see, whether it's good, whether it's bad, I am the creator of it, and I'm choosing it, even if I don't know why. Like at first I really resisted that idea, but now it brings me peace. It helps me, like, I don't know why. I'll probably be able to see it, in hindsight, but I take it on, like I choose that I'm first cause, and then I feel it empowers me, I guess. So if it's resonating with you, I would, not to take away from Stephen King, but just after you read it through the first time, he recommends just a little bit each day, that just to let the ideas continue to roll around in there.
Yeah. I've been bouncing between the two books because I really want to make progress in that one, but I need to find out more about the dead zone. So
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know.
No, that's fine. I appreciate that. Okay, and so then a year ago, I was just feeling disconnected, and I'm trying to, a week ago was a really long time ago, so I'm trying to kind of look through my notes and figure out exactly what I was thinking and where I was coming from. But yeah, it was just all wrapped up in my family problems and taking on my family problems. And then just everything I was discouraged. There were still a lot of good things as well in my life. And so I did an abstract. This is kind of how my life felt at that time. There were good things and intact shapes and some color, but everything was kind of broken and in darkness overall. And so that's just where I kind of felt like I was at the beginning of the year. And I knew something needed to change, but I had no idea what.
Thank you. And also, you know, like I was just saying, the purpose of this exercise is really not the past for, you know, like where you started, but tonight we're gonna do now, and then next week we're gonna do the middle. And the purpose of this exercise is that each one of you had growth in this year, and what is important is how to distill down what happened, like what tools did you use, what did you learn, what were you able to apply, and not even for the purpose of looking at it from the past, but these are all things you can use in your life. So when you identify your strengths, when you identify your capacities, when you identify this is a skill and a tool that I developed this year, or that I strengthened this year, and this is what it's good for, right? These are the things that it's good for. So when I see those things in the future, I'll know which of my tools I can use on that. So it's really not about the past, is we're reflecting on it to glean from it. What did we develop? What strengths, what tools, what capacities, and then how can we use them in the future so that you're heading into the next year with the strength of your growth, and really not just, oh yeah, I grew this year, but specifically in what ways, how did you grow? What did you develop? What capacities, what new capacities do you have? What did you strengthen, and how can you use them? So just to be clear that it's, the point is not the past. The point is where you are now and how you can use that as you move forward from now, if that makes sense. Okay. And Vicki or Leah, you ready to go? You're muted, Vicki.
I said, it seems like Leah always has to go last. So I want to give her the option of going next.
Well, I appreciate that, Vicki. I do, because I do get kind of, I guess today I'm intentionally feeling like I should go last because I didn't do the exercise.
It's okay. You can do it. You can still do today, because these two parts are separate from each other. And then you can do that one during the next week, and then you'll be ready for the middle piece.
Okay.
It's
So
okay.
yeah, I don't have
Not
I don't have a whole lot to share in regards to the exercise done last week. But I can, yeah. No, I appreciate you getting me out of my rut, Vicki.
Don't want to forget you back there.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's been a bit of a, like, I don't know. I feel like it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last wee bit. I feel like I'm in it's kind of, that's why I just feel like I'm kind of like a chicken with their head cut off, but then in like a brain fog all at the same time. So I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel like the days go by and I lose track of like what I'm supposed to be doing. But overall, like as a whole, big picture, I do feel better. I've kind of, so yeah, like last week I didn't come just because I was just exhausted. But like the good news is that I finally advocated for myself and complained to the clinic that I had been referred to. And for some reason, like it was just like kind of like serendipity, the way everything kind of like lined up, because I felt compelled to phone the clinic as I'm driving to work in the morning. And I'm like it was like, pick up the phone. So I pick it up and I just, the person in charge answered her phone, and I kind of told her that I hated my psychiatrist. Like I said it in the most like nice professional way as possible, but I pretty much told her he's not working. And she kind of she confirmed she kind of validated me in the sense that she was like, because I said, I don't know, like maybe I said, this is the first time I've ever had a psychiatrist. I said, maybe this is what they are. Like maybe my expectations, I said, maybe I have too high of expectations for them. And she just goes, Leah, your expectations, I don't think your expectations are too high. So for me, that was like a validation that she either knows something about this man or whatever. She just acknowledged my experience. And then we got into like, oh, do you have a therapist? And I said, I've been waiting a year for one. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to get on this. And by 3 p.m. that day, this lady was phoning to book a therapist appointment on the Wednesday, this was Monday, a therapist appointment that Wednesday, and I have a new psychiatrist for like early in the new year. So yeah, I was very, that was huge for me because I even said to the lady on the phone, I said, I've been feeling pretty much alone, like largely alone in my mental health struggles. Really with any other condition, you're rarely left to your own device to manage your own condition, right? It makes me very irate that mental health is still treated so lackadaisically, so no. And I just said I feel alone, like literally I'm managing this stuff on my own. So the minute, like it was just like that act of like getting that happening, I just not feeling alone anymore has improved my mental health like so much. The therapist is like, I really do think I'm gonna, like, I think it's gonna be really good. Like I've had my first appointment last week and then I have another one next week. And I think it's gonna be good. She's very, yeah, like I think she's what I need, and it's very goal focused. And she gives me time to kind of like process stuff and work through stuff, but then yeah. So, and I guess the way the program's supposed to work is that I guess in theory you're supposed to get a therapist first, and then they decide if you need psychiatry, and then they collaborate, right? So I just got, for like a year, I just got stuck with this like douchebag for just this loot. Like I was just like, oh, I just get stuck with this guy that doesn't really care about me, and then I've had nothing else. So yeah, she said now, because she was looking at my meds, and she's like, she's already going to talk to the psychiatrist about like some of the meds that I'm on right now, and if they're actually, yeah, conducive to my well-being. But yeah, she kicked me in the butt pretty good. Like there were some moments where she we addressed, yeah, like the drinking and I had been taking Ativan, probably not in the ways that it's supposed to be taken. So she's supporting me on like more healthy habits, and I've been doing these breathing exercises. So yeah, no, I think it's gonna, I'm just having that support. And like I told her, I'm like, I just need someone to tell me what to do. Like I'm tired of just being left to like figure this all out, right? Like I'm in my brain is like, it's muddling around, and then you're asking me, like I'm trying to decide what to do in the midst. I need someone to point me, like, right? Like show me. So like she kind of was direct. She's like, do this, do that. And I was like, okay. And so I I did. I've been doing quite a few of the things that she told me to do. So I was like, yeah. Um, other than that, yeah, like, yeah, that's all. That's pretty much like the major update. Everything else is pretty much the same. I do have a week off from Christmas to New Year's. So that'll be good. Yeah, and I just want to quit. Like, I didn't do the exercise, but just from hearing the other people talking, I think like the thing that's been kind of hitting
Better,
when,
better not to sort of speculate on it because you're going to journal and then you're going to
okay,
and then you're going to draw. So you can share after you've done it, but why don't you, because the part tonight's a standalone. So let's do
Okay.
the part
oh,
tonight.
it's standalone.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not, these two won't get connected until next week. So,
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll do tonight, then you can do last week before next week. And then next week is when we bring it together.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Well, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that they finally assigned you, because I remember when we met in February and you'd be like, I've been waiting 3 months. And then it took this long. So that's awesome. And I hope that really is a huge catalyst for you in working through stuff, being able to have that one-on-one.
Yeah, no, and like not, and I've had the support here and there, like without this group and like other resources that I've like kind of tried to put in place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think to your point, particularly in Canada where it's theoretically your right, to have medical care and that's inclusive of mental health care, to have a year where you're on your own, that's where they're saying you need care and they're not providing it. That's really,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah, if I had money, like if you have money, if you're rich, you can you can pay for like the top psychiatrist, the top there. Right? But if you want it covered under your
Right.
universal health care, then you have to wait. But
Yeah.
my last point is that this is where like I'm very passionate about it, is that like the brain is an organ just like your heart and
Yeah.
your knees and your, well, I don't know why we don't. It's because I guess we don't know enough. Like it's still a mystery to us, the brain, but it's just not treated the same as if you had like arthritis or
Yeah.
diabetes,
Yeah,
So
I think it's because it's not the same type of certainty in diagnosis and the same type of, we're certain this is what's wrong with you and this is the treatment. And so I think that creates some of that stigma. And then I think that, it's also the newness of the psychological field, relative to the medical field, and that judgment that it's somehow lesser and less real, that it's a very biased system.
yeah, and we've made a lot of strides
Yeah.
in the last even like 50 years. There's been massive strides. So who knows where we'll be in another 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for sharing, and we'll look forward to hearing your sharing on the first half next week. Okay, awesome. And Vicky, you want to go?
Sure. Here's my drawing. Should I show my drawing first or talk about my?
Do you just maybe do a little check-in first,
Oh, okay.
and then
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Everything's still just very quick right now. I'm working my hardest to get things to sort of slow down and be more controllable at work, and just with the move and the things that I need to do. So I'm making sure that I have self-care in there. I have little points in time that I give myself a nap, or I have a cup of tea and relax. So I'm doing what I need to do for myself. But there's also, when they say sometimes, I've been in this organization now 2 weeks, and sometimes people confuse activity for progress. There's kind of a chaos that they kind of feed on. That means they're doing their jobs. And I gotta stop that, because that's not a good thing. It's not good for me. I don't like it.
That's definitely the government.
No. Yeah, I'm fighting culture changes for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, but it's challenging, and I like it. It's working out.
And I'm not sure that everybody knows that you're officially 100% in your new home.
Yay, yes, finally. My art studio is a bunch of boxes, but I'll get to that. And the house is all set up, so I'm doing pretty good shape. So it's been a good week. I had to kind of go head to head with the technical people. Usually I don't try to do that right away. I try to observe and kind of hold back and figure out what I want to do once I know how things are working. And I don't have all that view right now, but there was a situation that came up. It was critical. The technical people were ready to run down a path that I knew had some 3 points of major risk involved that I pointed out to them, and they hadn't considered them. That my boss would want to know about. So I suggested we have a meeting. They resisted. But I said, no, we're going to do a meeting. And then at the meeting, my new boss said after it was over, Vicki, this was absolutely the right thing to do. We needed to get together. We needed to talk. Good job. So she did that in front of everyone, so that maybe I won't get so much resistance when I try to get them to do a little something every now and then. Yeah. So little victories.
And how about on your exercise?
Okay, my drawing was, me here with my ruby red slippers and my suitcase at the beginning of 2021 with these balls and chains being left behind. But I hadn't moved. I hadn't really figured out where this meant or what it meant. The same thing that many of you guys have talked about, where you're discontented, you're discontented, how many of the outside things can change because you still end up discontented. So I was pretty disconnected with myself, kind of going through the motions and not being honest with me. So that was, I was planning for major changes. I just didn't know what they would be. And I've moved 4 times this year. So I'm not moving again.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So let's dive into the exercise for tonight. So we're going to have the same structure as last week. We're going to journal first. I do think though that we'll hold the sharing until after the meditation and the drawing, so that we know how much time we have for that. So instead of ending up without enough time for the meditation and the drawing. So we'll journal, and then you can put in the chat when you're done with the journaling. And then once you're done with the journaling, then we'll move on to the meditation and the drawing. So I'm going to put the journaling questions in the chat. So for this journaling, you're focusing on now. Why don't we go ahead, and what we're going to do is reread what you just wrote and then close your eyes, having your drawing materials in front of you. The first section you drew last week was in the left third of your paper. For this part of the exercise, you're going to skip the middle section and you're going to draw your picture on the right third of the paper. So you'll have your picture from last week on the left, the middle will remain blank, and then the right side is where you will draw your picture for today. And just sit comfortably and close your eyes. And take a deep breath in and out. And another deep breath in and out. And just get really connected with where you are now in your relationship with yourself, in your life. Consider your growth over the course of this year, the ways that you've connected with yourself. Maybe you know yourself better than you did 11 and a half months ago. Maybe you like yourself more than you did 11 and a half months ago. Maybe you have more appreciation for yourself. Maybe you don't beat yourself up as much. Maybe you see yourself more clearly. Maybe you accept yourself more. Just be with your relationship with yourself now. And sometimes we have to look back to really see what is now. What does this look like? How do I feel about myself? And imagine that you were looking into a mirror, but this mirror is magical and it reflects back to you your image as a gift, as an experience of knowing yourself, being open and accepting of yourself to the degree that you truly are in this moment. And that person is honoring you, seeing you, knowing you. And now I want you to look away from the mirror and turn and see your life as it is right now, in process, which it will always be. and just really be honest with yourself about where you are, about what you're happy with, and what you may want to work on to grow in the future, both internally and externally. But you're here now. And you worked hard this year. Now, if you take this image of yourself and the image of your life now, in this moment, and you imagine them as a portrait of you, and again, not a literal, doesn't have to be a picture of you, but to imagine an image that represents you at this moment in time. And see that image in front of you. And see that image embody both how you feel about yourself and your life and your growth within this year. And whatever image that is, however that comes for you, just knowing it is an image of you at this moment in time. And when you can see that image and when you can feel that that is you now, I want you to open your eyes and I want you to draw that. If you're still working, just keep working. And if you're done, if you can share, since we didn't share the journaling this time, share both things. Share what you expressed in your journaling, as well as what came up for you in the meditation and your drawing. And anyone can go that's ready.
I'll be happy to go. As far as journaling, some of the highlights, just where I am now, I think the biggest change is that I recognize more our own paths, or our own journeys, and I'm taking on less of theirs. Not a perfect picture, but I'm taking on less. And I recognize that self-care included mental and emotional, where I was all physical and spiritual. I felt like I had pretty good, but I was missing half of it, and I didn't realize that. And that my self-talk was more fearful and judgmental, and I still slide back there, but not as much. I am more supportive in my self-talk than I used to be, and recognizing that I don't have to get it right the first time. That's been a huge piece of my journey this last year. And I am praising myself intermittently, not as much as I should be, but I wasn't praising myself at all. So I feel like, okay, well, that's progress. So I am praising myself. Yeah, and before I would just, if I would look, I would just see failure. I failed at this, I failed at this, I failed at this. And so taking the time to see those acknowledgements does make me feel better. And values, I was living with some of them, but I feel I'm living more in my values right now, and being more of the whole person that I strive to be. Some of my wins is finding more of myself, learning new tools such as meditation, stretching, yoga, recognizing and talking to my higher self, and balancing, not covering up the dark, acknowledging it. And I drew a picture today because I sat down this morning and I had to say, okay, higher self, we need to have a chat. So I just sorted through, some things this morning and with my journal, but I also drew this picture. And this is my dark self and my judgmental self, saying you've got to do more, you're failing, everyone's still in pain. And so I'm hunkering down and getting ready to fight. But then here's the light side of reminding myself of the joy and of the abundance. And so I'm not getting rid of this person, but they're taking hands and she's saying, let's dance. So, so that negative person feels acknowledged and loved by the higher person, and that they can, and automatically that uplifts. It doesn't get rid of the dark side, but it uplifts the dark side. It uplifts her. So I was trying to envision that this morning. And I am able to disconnect with their journeys better. I'm really proud of my Facebook page that I've been creating, and I'm really happy. I started, feel like through the years, this year I've been putting pieces in place to have a routine with my kids that works really well, that accompanies my values and the things that are important for me to work with them. And I'm really happy with how that has progressed. Struggles is still just staying positive and keeping up with the lighter vibes. I feel like external struggles, and that's part of that. That's what's hard right now. I feel like those haven't changed. Aurelia is still damn depressed, and Jason still struggles with everything. And money, I still cannot fill my spots. Money is no better than it was last year. So that's what pulls me down. But in recognizing, okay, most of those are external, that's theirs. And so I need to continue to work on keeping myself separate from theirs. And in meeting goals in 2020, I didn't really have any goals. I don't normally sit down and do goal setting like at the beginning of the year, because I think you should just be kind of setting goals as you go. You don't need the pressure of new goals at the beginning of the year that you're not gonna meet most likely anyway. And so I didn't really set any specific goals at the beginning of the year anyway. And my level of satisfaction now, I would probably put it about a 7, a little higher than it was at the beginning of the year. Still a work in progress. And so my picture was abstract again, but so this is kind of life. This is the dark storm. There's lightning and the dark storm of Aurelia's journey, of Jason's journey, but they are separate. And this light one is mine. And that's where I have the power. I still have these tendrils that reach out and entwine with them, and because it's not perfect, but they are tendrils as opposed to arms reaching around them, which is probably where I would have put myself at the beginning of the year. And just focusing on the light, and I've got color. I'm developing, but I have a much more, when I focus on that, what I can do and focus on me, I do feel much lighter than I did at the beginning of the year. So that's me.
Thank you. And we'll talk as we move into 22 about the value of setting goals and how you can see them as guideposts as opposed to things that are gonna, setting yourself up for failure or as pressure, but as like more like guiding lights that, you can kind of, aim your journey toward.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Vicky, you wanted to go.
Okay. Right now, I'm, as opposed to the beginning of the year, I'm much more connected. Oops, just a second, my battery's running out. Let me grab my cord. There we go. Much more connected to myself, what I want. I know that sounds silly, but I didn't even know what I wanted to eat. I just didn't have that kind of connection. And like Lori said, I'm more able to be proud of myself these days. It still doesn't come easy. I have to fight those voices a lot that tell me that's wrong and, you shouldn't brag and, be that way. But I don't see it that way really. So I'm doing it. I'm happier, just more contented as kind of a whole. I'm more whole. I kind of entered into the year kind of feeling broken in ways, not severely broken, but just like there was a nick somewhere, some kind of break that I needed to find. And I didn't know where it was. And now I feel much more whole and grounded, sort of more living in the moment. Even at work, I mean, everywhere, it's just everywhere. And I think I did very limited self-care before. And even that became a project. I involved myself in my art as a way to escape. But even that became a project to manage, So I had to get a thing done for myself. So it wasn't really so much of an escape as trying to accomplish those goals. So I guess I'm more in the flow, the way I would put it, more in the flow of life. I kind of have that sort of base feeling that it's all going to work out, that it always does, that it kind of falls together the way it's supposed to, and that I just need to be open to the possibilities. Big difference in the self-care, more praise. I know a few of my core values, but I want to explore that area a lot more because I think I had taken on the values of my family and those that I had been raised by. And now when I make a decision, I think first, is that me or is that, my self-talk coming to light? And I think truthfully, I'm living more on my own terms in all my relationships. And I love it. I love it so much more. And I think the way that I've done it is through the holistic approaches, everything from, participating in various art forms, to participating in this, reading, exploring other kinds of alternative approaches. So I think the bottom line is I've kind of come to see me for who I am. And I like that person. It's okay.
And how about your picture?
Oh, I made myself a willow tree, grounded, much happier, getting nourished, um, flourishing, and really kind of, as the river says, kind of going with the flow.
And it's interesting that you were in an unknown destination, about to be moving at the beginning picture, and now you're rooted in the ground. You have
No-
that permanence. That's interesting. Awesome. Thank you so much. And
Mhm.
on your point of like, kind of how did you get there? That's going to be the focus of the work next week. So we're going to dig into that and really pull out the pieces. It may even be 2 weeks on that. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Who is ready to go?
I can go. So I feel like I'm ending the year with a lot of gratitude for everything I've learned and how I've grown, and much more feeling of accomplishment um, for like just doing the work and facing what um, has happened in my life, and moving that along in a very healthy way. My wins for 2021, number one is getting coaching. Because it's just so easy to get stuck, I think, for everybody. So um, I I'm putting things into action. I've learned how to um, make forming good habits more manageable and easy. And I've learned a lot of tools in that way. My self-care is far better than it was. And I was starting to take care of my spirit, and I always live in my mind. I'm a mind person. And so I sort of, my beginning drawing with the sun coming out was sort of, getting in contact with my spirit. But I feel like I ignored, some of the mental health things and some of the body things. And so bringing those in to a self-care routine and a self-love routine has made a huge difference. My self-talk is way better, usually more compassionate than that harsh voice occasionally still slips in, because Vicki, you're saying, right, we're programmed and we all know it from our parents and etc. So it is still in there, but it doesn't have the same power in any way. It's I can usually recognize it and say, I don't believe that anymore, right? So that's fantastic. And I've got a sticky note on the mirror that says, self-praise every night. And so when I go to brush my teeth, habit stacking, and I've got my, what did I do well today? What did I, how did I? And so that, I think all of that it's just changing my movie, it's changing my internal movie, which is just amazing. I am living more in alignment with my values. And I think that I have work to do, but I can see a huge amount of growth there, with learning. I don't know, just okay, big thing, big win, being able to rejig my view of myself and trust myself instead of always blaming myself with that harsh voice. So huge, right? Number one big win. And that brought on all sorts of other things in terms of sort of attachment issues and people pleasing and sort of turning off my body for a long time because I didn't trust it because of my arthritis, getting sick, getting, all of this stuff. So yeah, I'd say that I've come from those kinds of things being my major struggles to having content, Vicky, more content with myself, more peace with myself, more love for myself. And I think that right now my internal struggle is more, I'm dealing with that with myself, but opening up with that more to others is probably my, one of the big things that I need to work on right now. And external, I'd say, mirrors that, my external world could be different with, whatever, just being able to speak my truth more continually and be more open with people and attract, some more fun, more friends, more, possibly a companion, who knows? But yeah, just to be more in joy, find, like I said, when I said find my groove with the universe and, get my groove on, working more towards that. I think it's happening. I did a happy dance last week with Kelly. So, anyways, so moving on. Yes, the though vague, my last year's thing was to groove more with the universe. So yeah, okay, happening. And life satisfaction, I think, goes, again, it goes up and down, but instead of being 5 to 7, I think I'm looking at 6, 7, 8, sometimes even 9. So that's amazing. My picture. Instead of being a big rain cloud, I'm now surfing on the rain clouds in front of the sun that is now fully out. I am a little shaky because, I can see I'm kind of windsurfing there. Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm like, this is cool. There's a smile on my face because I'm like risking and doing things differently.
Thank you. And just this kind of goes for everyone. I don't think it ever ends, like I think you keep building your tools, you keep growing, you keep kind of looking at where you've been and where you're headed. But I mean, I think if you're on a growth journey in this life, that's until, wherever we go next. And I think that idea of just expanding more and more and opening up. So I definitely don't think there's a done, and there's no right or wrong place to be, right? I think it's that honest assessment of where were you, where are you, and then the most important part is going to be the next part of like, what in all instances here, I think there definitely has been growth, and what makes that up, and how can we know it so that we can use it to continue and maybe increase the pace at which we're growing in the future. But thank you. Anybody else ready to go?
Okay, I'll go. Okay. So I get the theme of kind of all my journaling was so I feel like I'm ending with like perseverance and grit. So I've had moments where I feel like I am weak and have nothing to give, but I even in those moments, it's just moving forward, I don't feel like I've made a lot of physical progress, but like the insights and awareness of myself has been huge. So it's more mental than like something like that you can see super tangibly. think the main thing that I've realized is that how I spend my time and who I spend my time with is crucial. And I've been very, very, so I realized how careless I've been with those two things. So at the beginning of the year, I was in a toxic relationship and I was just allowing my boundaries to get compromised. I was feeling very disconnected with myself. And I was doing it because I was so desperate for like love and validation. And I would pretty much compromise anything just to get that love and validation. So yeah, I'm more forgiving and compassionate. I definitely am more forgiving and compassionate with myself, but resonating with the other ladies is that it's still I still beat myself up at times. It is like a very conscious thing that I have to put into practice. But I have noticed my thoughts are becoming more naturally optimistic and hopeful instead of dismal and very berating and so I've been praising myself more. I obviously my failures and shortcomings are always more they're more prominent, but I can see the positives. So yeah, at the beginning of this year, I wasn't even thinking about what my accomplished, that wasn't even on my radar. So it wasn't even something that I was I just was I was just so caught up in all this other stuff that I wasn't even thinking about it. So that's huge that this is my focus has dramatically shifted. My values, that is an ongoing issue because I'm so worried about limiting myself, putting myself in a box. But I know that integrity and connection and honesty are forefront for me. So I'd say, I'm about 5 or 6 now in alignment with those. The beginning of the year, I was compromising pretty much all my I was allowing them to be compromised. So I went so I feel like I've stayed employed and built some really good client connections despite all the struggles that I've been kind of battling. I have fought for my well-being and not given up, and I've advocated for myself, and I'm learning new habits and abandoning old ones. So those are my wins. I think my struggles are still they are the same. It's just the awareness and insight. So the anxiety and depression, the depressive thoughts are still something, my lack of motivation is huge. That's something that and then, disorganization. So, in terms of goals, I've made a lot of progress with mental health and just like maintaining kind of my work response, like kind of maintaining work. But my just like self-care and quality of life they're still like waning. But like I would say, considering at the beginning of this year, like I probably was like my life satisfaction was probably like a low, like a 3, or like it was like 3 or 4. I'd like I'm probably more about like a 5 or 6 now. So I feel like I'm feeling less of a victim, like that I do have control over my circumstances. And I don't know, my picture was a struggle, because I don't, but the thing that that struck me is like someone said to me, oh, you're so like, you're easy, like you're just so easy, right? Like I'm just like, I just allow people to be who they are. Like, I'm not really I don't cause a lot of conflict. Like I'm not like stirring up stuff. Like I allow people to walk all over me, and I don't. So like when they said I was easy, and this is someone that's been really been disrespectful, it hit me that I don't want to be easy anymore. I'm like, that has become my identity as being easy, and it's not. And not that I don't want to be a problem, but sometimes I don't, yeah. So the vision that I had from the visualization is I now identify as a cat, because cats can be like, like a pussy cat. They're like very, soft. But they can get their claws out when needed. And they're very, they just kind of do what, like they're not really controlled by other people. It's like they do what they want when they want. So yeah, I just drew myself as a cat, because it's like kind of like, I feel like the tiger, and like I'm just like, so yeah, this I'm a cat. That's me.
I love that. I love the eyes, because they look like, they look like your eyes on a cat.
Yeah, and like I like the cat, like I like how cats are a bit mysterious.
Mhm.
They don't know, like, so I don't know. I just realized how much I love cats, and I want to be
great.
one.
Yeah, yeah. And cats definitely don't take no crap. So that's
No, but then they can be very loving and
yes, yes,
cuddly.
absolutely on their
Right?
own terms. Absolutely. Yes.
So it's just, it's like that kind of, it's a symbol for not just being easy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that was a lot of, reflection, especially given that you didn't have the benefit of the first
Yes.
exercise. So you can use that as you do that, but that's great. That's great. And next week we'll mine that for stuff you can use moving forward too. Okay, Joy, you're up, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. I noticed that for the past, when we did this last week, I had 1 page, and then I'm like, how many pages does this go on the journal? It was like 4. But I know we're at the end of our time, and I know there's time for all of us. So I'm stronger and more self-confident. I'm more in touch with myself and my authentic self, my sense of self, my sense of joy with a capital J, my identity, me, my separateness, my personal power, being physically, emotionally, and spiritually grounded. I'm just feeling a real sense of I mean, some of this didn't come up in the meditation, but in your talking and journaling, I mean, there's just like this, I'm having trouble finding words in my journaling, expressing the things that I'm feeling, but it's just like this rooted, grounded, solidity of my person, and more than the body, but just, I guess, more coherence of all the facets of myself, and more awareness. I'm digressing a little from my journaling, and I'm probably shared this with the group, but I mean, one of my main defense mechanisms of my life has kind of been dissociation from my body. And it's like, my therapist is a somatic therapist and works with getting me in touch with my body. When I started with her, it's like, okay, if nothing hurts, then I'm good. If I can't feel anything, that's good, So now, and I'll get to this in my journaling, but it's like the self-care part is really being able to sit, feel my body, listen to my voice, listen to my inner, ask myself, what am I feeling? And letting myself feel whatever that is and whatever comes up, and taking the time rather than doing whatever I could to avoid feeling emotionally or physically. So feeling my body, feeling my emotions, asking myself, what do I need at this moment? And being in that moment, listening to everything, the physical, the emotions, the inner knowing, my soul, my inner self, and acknowledging, and often, and responding to that, like, oh, that's what I need. I need rest. I just need to sit here, giving myself that permission. And so a lot of also my self-care that didn't really get written down is a lot of learning how to resource myself has been something I've worked with my therapist, and that can be a walk in the woods, that can be seeing and sending chats and texts to you all, to my other friends, my women's circle, whether it's prayers with my friends here, walks in the woods with them, or by themselves, or just breathing, or just knowing, having learned that, and that I have choices about, yes, I can move and I can shift this mood. And one thing my therapist has been real consistent about, it's like, it's not about necessarily feeling better, it's about feeling different. You can, so it's not necessarily that you're going to feel better, but what can you do to shift from this place maybe that doesn't feel good to something different? Or is there a part of your body that isn't, if you feel this pain in your shoulders, is there some place in your body that's not hurting? So it's just becoming more aware of these nuances, and also taking the time to be with them, as opposed to trying not to feel anything at all. Go away. So at the beginning, back to my notes, at the beginning of the year, still trying to please my family. And now I still want that harmony, but I am much more clear about what I need and what I deserve to have. I'm still working on the deserve to have. I'm still working on, I'm as important as, if not more important than anybody else in my family. So that's still in progress, but, and it's, and so, and saying, what I need, and it's non-negotiable, even if it makes others in my family unhappy. And that's a piece I'm still struggling with. It's very uncomfortable for me when they're unhappy, and I want to fix that. And I'm growing, and there's more work to be done there. Self-talk, again, is more about that self-listening, and that gentleness, and what I need in this moment is okay, rather than, oh, you shouldn't be laying here in this recliner. No, it's like, okay, I listened to my body. That's what my body said I needed. So that's okay. Still, like we've said, that voice, well, you should have gotten something done today. And even last week when I was telling you all how I stayed in bed all day Saturday, and I was getting such positive feedback as that was not doing nothing, and that was self-care. And I didn't have to have a reason and all of that. So, it's the critical voice though is much quieter. The volume has really been turned down on that. The saying whatever it is that you need is okay has been turned up louder. Um, Again, I talked about numbing out, and that's, and so, self-talk and this whole listening to my whole self, and it all is connected to this, also feeling grounded. And there are times and a lot of times I'm just so amazed at gravity. I mean, it's like I'm feeling my body in this chair being held to the earth. I'm not off fly. It's like, wow, isn't that amazing? So gentler awareness that I have choices, even if my choice is not to make a choice, not to do anything else, to do what I'm doing right now. That's a choice I'm making, and as opposed to somewhere in here, it's right here, getting away, working again. This is a definite still work in progress. Black and white thinking, all good, all bad. It's either perfect or it's a failure. There's a lot of that's programmed in my head, and working to talk about choices and continuums. So I found in terms of self-praise and acknowledgement, I'm aware of like, oh, look what I did, and look how, and I want to tell somebody, and I want to tell you guys, or I want to tell Kelly, or I want to tell my therapist, and then I get even more reinforcement, and sometimes even more insight about stop and think about that, hold that, be with that, and to see how big that is. And I don't necessarily do that by myself. I'm still, a lot of my identity has been shaped because of what people, I mean, I know it's true for all of us, but in my case, there was a lot of directive about who I was with very little input from the reality of who I am. So seeing myself through other people's eyes it's a way of reinforcing who I am. And so in this sense, I'm getting that reinforcement, I think, for people who are seeing my more authentic, true self, and helping me strengthen that self-image, as opposed to being told I was something that I wasn't necessarily, or it didn't feel as honest. So I think that sense of still needing other people, and it gets into when I talk about my values too, it's like I think other people like Kelly and my therapist, I love having people who really are into getting to know me and listening to what I'm saying, and then they can identify things that I haven't put words to necessarily. So my values, one that's always been clear to me is living with integrity, that I have personal integrity, and it's like I cannot move away from that, and that has been a constant in my life of my personal beliefs, my personal integrity, having that truth inside me, even when I was struggling with whatever push me pull use from everybody else. There was always that solid living with integrity, being compassionate to myself and others while having firm boundaries is a value I've been able to put words to. We always all want to be unique and special. I've always felt unique and special and different and wanted to be. And now it's like I am being more my true self, not hiding my truth, and not putting on a facade of what I think people want to see, but being, this is me, take it or leave it. My spiritual, I have a very strong connection to my spiritual reality, and I feel like during this past really couple years, my faith has really strengthened tremendously and has become a great source of strength and comfort. much stronger, my own personal connection to it much stronger than I realized or had a sense of in the past. And so feel like I'm living, I said it first in my brain, 80%, and then I wrote 75%. And I'm like, no, it's really closer to 80% living in alignment with those values. So my big wins were getting a firm commitment from my sister that yes, I am moving out of this house and going through that whole crazy process of communication. One related to that was doing things different in order to have a different outcome, working to break the dysfunctional communication cycle that she and I have when we're both triggered. Having stronger boundaries, even within my family, continuing to have, oh, that's enough. I'm not taking that. And even like tonight, I had to have a rest before I got dinner ready. Dad had his headphones on, but was watching the TV, and he kept asking me questions. And the third time I said, I'm resting. We'll talk about it at dinner. It's like, he'd keep, I already told him I was resting until a certain time, and then I was going to get dinner. And he kept asking questions while I'm laying there trying to rest. And I finally was like, okay, done. Stop. Holding fast to my need to leave this house or leave this living situation. So much more grounded in myself. Those are my wins. Still working on boundaries with families. I'm still not out of the house. I am losing patience as my dad's memory fades more. And it's sort of like after the fifth time of the same question, I'm done with the patience. No, I did not meet, I had the one goal of leaving the house and I didn't meet that, but I have made major steps both internally and physically. My level of satisfaction at the beginning of the year, I had a 4. Now it's a 6 to 7. Some things as were coming to mind as we were talking, one thing I really still want to be working on is balance and flow. And again, it gets back to the black and white, and you can either have fun or you can work or you can do all or you can do nothing. I mean, that kind of being able to live in a more intertwined, I had a vision of like a candy cane, I guess, like 3 different colors, it's like, oh, one is like, that's what I want. I need it, because right now it's very much, you can't have fun until you've done your work, or you work really hard and then you collapse, and so that's working on that, working ideas about structure and that bastard time and, containers that are flexible, and self-care. Again, we talked about that. Okay. Oh, also a big deal, investing in myself, working with Kelly, and that financial investment. I've been in therapy all my life, so I'm not, so in that kind of investment, yes, but this was for me, a large financial investment, and she knows that I had to think about it. And then it was like, hell yeah, I'm worth it. And I want more from life. And, we had several conversations about her style and my style and, where it would go. But it was to make that financial investment, to say I have that value, and certainly what she's giving us all, we know is worth a lot more than whatever, we are paying her. But that's a huge thing. So I wish I was an artist, and I wish I knew how to use color better. So what I in my religious writings in the Baha'i faith, it talks about us being gems of inestimable value. And so I am a gem. It also talks about, polishing to make your, cleaning the dross, which is the grime off your mirror so it shines. So I am a gem or diamond in the rough that is getting polished. My color is an attempt at iridescence, with some, the rough parts, but very grounded, very grounded. and starting for my sparkles and my sparks to shine off that gem. And also I had this image too, and it's interesting when I think about that, because diamonds are formed under the ground after tremendous pressure. And I'm coming out of the ground to shine.
That's very cool. Yeah, I like that. And I like that connection between those two. So on the point of, you know, that idea of where things are headed. So after we complete this exercise, which will probably be the next 2 weeks, then we're going to look at, because I am a believer in goals or targets or visions, or, you know, because I think it's the esteem that you hold your future in impacts what occurs, and the knowing where you want to go is helpful. You know, like, it's not about you have to get there and you're bad if you don't get there. It's about really, you know, the possibilities, which I think Vicky was the one who, you know, the being open to the possibilities and calling them in. And then, and, you know, there is also this issue of manifestation. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, you know, but it couldn't hurt, you know? So being able to really hold your future in a high esteem, hold your connection with yourself in this next year in a high esteem. And if there is manifestation based on, you know, clarity, then that would be awesome to be able to, you know, be clear about our desires and manifest those things into our lives. So we will be moving into that in the new year. And we are over time. I apologize, but I think it's valuable. I'm blown away by all of your sharing, and I hope you all heard it. I know you heard it about everyone else, but I hope you heard it about yourself too. And even regardless of, it's not about where you think you should be or where you're not. Look where you are, you know, look where you all are, and really, you know, have you know, admiration for your sister's journey, but have admiration for your own journey, you know, because no matter what isn't where you want it to be, you all shared so much. I mean, there's been massive growth internally for all of you, you know, and that's where it starts. You don't want to look outside. You want to look inside. You know, and the outside changes as the inside changes. And so trying to fix the outside is never going to change the inside. But when you really connect with yourself, when you really work on your relationship with yourself, you will start to see the outside change, and you will become more separated from the parts of the outside that aren't about you and aren't about your journey, you know? And so I just hope that you all can see the value of the work that you've done, because it's so incredibly brave what you've done this year. It's so brave. You all, like, you know, exposed yourselves to yourself, you know, like you really went for it. You really allowed yourself to be vulnerable with you. And then on top of that, you allowed yourself to be vulnerable with each other, you know, and with me, and to be able to really invest, as you said, Joy, you know, the money is the least of what you invested, you know, like you guys invested your time, your energy, and your rawness in yourself. And it's huge. It's huge. So I just want to acknowledge that. And I hope that you all acknowledge that about yourselves and your journeys this year. And we're not done. There's still 2 parts of this, but I just wanted to take a minute to say that. And I so admire you all, and I appreciate you so much. And so I thank you for trusting me.
We appreciate you, Callie.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. No, yeah, I was trying to just think, when did you run the
Challenge that you were in was in January or early February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm very thankful that I just stumbled across you on Facebook. It
Yeah, I
literally
did
was
the
like
same thing.
it was a stumble. It was just like, oh,
Stumble.
what's this?
But nothing
Yeah.
is a stumble, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
And I really had no, I was like, oh, it's probably some, like, I'm so, I'm like, it's probably some scam, but I'm like, oh, I've got nothing to lose.
I remember Kelly asking, why did I want to do this now? And I'm like, well, because you appeared in my life now. That's, it's kind of like I was open to the universe sending things.
Yeah.
What is that? When you're ready, the teacher will appear.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
But I
And
also want to say,
Gratitude for that.
you are the teacher, like, and we had that conversation the other day, Vicky, like, it's not, it's really you guys, your work with yourself, there's tools and opportunities, but you have to take them, both in the big way by taking a leap to join something but in every choice you make in the work, you are making a choice to teach and learn from yourself, and that's huge.
and I wanted to say, as yes, I already said and appreciate Kelly, but appreciating this group.
Yes.
I love that I now have 2 women's circle, because I have the one in Virginia and I have you all, and the just I mean the the things we share on Facebook, and the feedback we give each other, it's really meaningful to me, and it's like I wanted you all to know and be praying or sending positive energy when Mischief got so sick. It was, you were the group, my women's circle was the group, there were a few other important people to me that I sent that message to, and I just really do appreciate what we have, and yes, Kelly's brought us together, and we've all brought ourselves here, but just thank you all
Right.
Pretty
for
amazing.
And I think that's meant to be too, right? In the same way that, like, it's not an accident that you all ended up in this group, and it's extremely valuable. I agree. I think that sisterhood and really having people who are genuinely rooting for you, and it's so obvious that you are all genuinely rooting for each other and genuinely there for each other, and that's huge. It's huge. So yes, thank you for bringing that up too, Joy.
Mm.
All right, so I'll see you all next week.
And so next week, we're meeting next week,
Yeah,
and then are we missing any?
I wasn't planning on it, but if you guys want, because it's in the middle.
No, I don't want, no.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the week. So if it works to continue to meet next week and the week after that, it's not that close to either holiday, because the holidays are on the weekend.
Yeah, no, they are. I just wasn't sure if you were going away or.
We're going away the beginning of next week, but we'll be back on Wednesday. So
Okay.
it's not a conflict for me.
Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't.
And if you miss, of course, the same from the beginning, I'll always videotape and then put the meetings in the group, so you can get the exercise and also get the sharing and everything, if you have to miss.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, thank you, ladies.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.